Welcome to the Songwriter Connection podcast, where we look at the craft of songwriting through the eyes of the songwriter. Each week, we make a connection with a music maker, listen to their songs, and hear their stories. From Nashville, Tennessee, here's your host, Dave Lenahan.
Got a cool artist and songwriter to introduce you to today and make a connection. Before we do that, though, I want to talk about my friend Mark Allen Barnett, who sponsors this show locally. If you caught last week's episode, and I hope you did, if you didn't, go back and listen, especially if you're a performing songwriter and want to do more rounds. We talked about, performing around Nashville and even in your hometown in songwriter rounds. And we had Debbie Champion on the show. It was great to have Debbie on the show. But Mark Allen Barnett talked a little bit last week about his Mark Allen Barnett tours, which I just can't say enough about. You can book a tour with Mark when you come into town. He will show you around, introduce you to some folks, maybe bring you over to the hidden Nashville like we did yesterday morning. We do it on Sunday mornings at the Whiskey Bench Saloon with hosts Janet and Charles Cox, who've also been on the show. Always a lot of fun. Mark's one of the best performers that you'll ever see in this town, and he can show you how to do it as well. He can up your game 3 to 5 years in just a single tour. You can do a weekend tour, a day tour with you. He will introduce you to industry folks. He will write with you. He will look at and critique your songs, just make you an overall better songwriter and performer too. You can find him online everywhere. It's markallenbarnett.com, and Mark is M-A-R-C, Allen, A-L-A-N, and it's like barn with E-T-T-E on the end, Mark Allen Barnett. And if you send him a little note, tell him we said hello and where you heard about it, okay? I do appreciate it. Well, our guest today is just, we were just talking before we went on. He plays every night here in Nashville, and he's in demand. He's one of those artists that you hear a lot about if you're in town, and we're really happy to have him here. It's Ellis Griffin. Hi, Ellis. How are you?
Better now. How are you?
I'm doing all right. You've had a busy morning already.
Yeah, I'm sitting down with a guitar now.
It's your favorite thing to do, huh?
It is.
Wonderful. You've got a new song out. I want to play that right away. Tell us about it and who wrote it and the story behind it.
Yeah, the latest one is Burn. Love that song to death, man. I think I wrote it this past year or two, something like that. But yeah, it's one of those songs that you kind of... I've noticed that there's different ways I've come about songs and how they run through my head. This is one of the ones that just kind of happened. You roll over out of bed, you write it down before you lose it.
Yeah.
It's kind of like I've heard other songwriters and singers talk about you got to have your antennas up, your radar, and when it floats by on the frequency, you just got to catch it.
You do.
It's kind of one of those. But that being said, it was kind of about a true story. So it's
nice.
A very personal song for me.
Very good. We'll find out how personal in just a little bit. But here's the song. It's called Burn from our guest, Ellis Griffin, on the Songwriter Connection podcast.
Didn't think I'd see you here tonight. Is that your new man? I know I can tell by the way he holds you tight. Girl, I hope you know I'm happy for you. I swear it ain't a lie. Just haven't seen that smile in a while. If a spark's in your heart, let it burn. If he lights a fire in your eyes, don't turn around and run. And if you never play with fire, then you'll never learn. If a spark's in your heart, let it burn. Let it burn. Let it burn. Feelings that ain't healing, and a question fire in your eyes, don't turn around and run. If you never play with fire, then you'll never learn. If a spark's in your heart, let it burn. Let it burn. Let it burn.
Ellis Griffin is our guest on the Songwriter Connection podcast. That is his new release. It's just called simply Burn. And you got a spark, let it burn, right? I like your style of country music, my friend.
I've heard that before. Thank you.
Yeah. It's a more traditional approach, isn't it?
I think it's coming back around, but I don't do it because I think it's coming back around. I do it because that's just how I sound. It's what I like to do. So.
Is that what you grew up on?
I guess stuff like that. Yeah, 90s country, 80s country, but
oh yeah, that's making a resurgence too.
Oh, I hope
it is. 90s country is big right now again. In fact, they've got the whole display at Opryland now about 90s country. And
okay, I didn't know that.
Oh yeah, it's big again.
There's a couple venues here in town, like Live Oak on DeMumbry, and they kind of let me host every now and then on a Sunday. All day on a Sunday.
Nice.
The 90s country brunch is what they call it. And,
see, there you go.
Yeah, that's a lot of fun.
Sure, that draws a lot of people in, huh?
Yeah, there's a draw, and there's just the traffic, the tourists and the people who frequent the Live Oak all the time. Mm-hmm. They start noticing and like, man, this is a cool place. Brunch is just cool in Nashville in general, but to have that kind of a theme and it to actually work, it's really cool. I'm flattered, tickled that he had enough faith in me to let me host.
That's nice.
All day like that.
You enjoy doing things like that? Hosting Writers' Rounds?
It's a lot of work.
It's a lot of work.
I've got plenty of work as it is right now, but
the scheduling is what I find the hardest.
Yeah. I don't mind doing that kind of working that hard and being stressed about it because it just shows that he trusted me to do it.
Isn't that cool?
Yeah. So I kind of, if he did that, then I kind of give him my time and energy to do that for him.
Let's go back to the song Burn, which is a great song that you wrote. You said it's a very personal story.
Yeah.
I like the stories behind the songs. Do you care to share that?
Sure. Yeah, it's that's what makes a good song, I think, is
it's authentic.
Actually, yeah, it's very raw, authentic. It happened to you. When somebody sings it, you kind of believe them. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, I was with probably the girl of my dreams, for about 5 or 6 years. Shared some time here in Nashville, some years here. And when we split up back in 2018, you go through all the emotions of a breakup, but
it's tough.
What I've noticed over the years, and probably what she taught me, was that if you truly care about somebody, you just want them to be happy. Mm-hmm. So that's what the song's about. It's kind of like a imaginary meeting that found myself maybe in a bar room, something like that, where they were together. That's the explanation. The song is kind of speaking out that scenario, I guess.
That you're telling her it's okay. Mm-hmm. You feel the spark burn,
Like, go ahead.
That's just something. That really is something.
Well, yeah, it's a good feeling to have.
It is.
To get over that hill.
Yeah.
Of all those deep emotions, to get over that hill, it's a good feeling.
It's great. Makes a good country song. It really
I hope so.
Yeah.
I hope people listen to it and and think, wow, that's not really a premise you hear about all the time.
It really isn't. I'm trying to, as you were saying that, I'm trying to think in my mind of other songs like that, and I just can't think of one.
Well, yeah, it's songwriter rounds and shows and sets and all this stuff around town. I always hear people, they go, "Oh man, you remind me of blank," And
I was going to ask you, who, like George Strait,
and it's all over the place.
Yeah, all over.
And it's kind of nice for somebody to come up to you and be like, "Man, I don't even know. Like, it's good. I don't even know what to compare that to."
Yeah.
So that in itself is cool.
Don't know how to take that when they say, can start comparing you to other people.
As far as the creativity that went into writing said song, I think that right there is a compliment.
Yeah.
That you can't put your finger on it.
I think so. That's great. Well, let's talk about you and how it all started for you. You grew up in near Charlotte, North Carolina.
About 25 miles south of Charlotte. Yeah.
And not too far from Marshville, where Randy Trawick grew up. We're talking about Randy Travis. So was he a big influence?
Oh, huge, yeah.
Yeah.
And I didn't even know it at the time. I just knew he was from my area, and he was big. He was successful. So that's what I listened to. That's what my family listened to. And it played on all the stations out there all the time, independent, mainstream, whatever. And I just grew up singing the songs because they were on the radio, not because I was attached to them. But the older I got, the more attached to him I got, because he kind of speaks of what goes on around the area he grew up there. We grew up.
Right.
So it's very easy to relate to most, I'd say 90% of his songs. And the ones he didn't write, he chose to cut them because he felt that same kind of connection to him, probably. So, I've had the opportunity to meet a few people from his family. His brother Ricky, who's also a singer songwriter. Randy himself, when he came back home to Marshville, his father, I believe my father sold his father Harold a tractor years ago, maybe even before I was born. That's what my father and grandfather did for a living, sell tractors and farm equipment.
Wow, okay.
And so they kind of knew him too. And I think my uncle used to kind of hang out with him back in the day, certainly before I was born. Back when there wasn't as many stoplights on the boulevard there in our closest hometown of Monroe. It goes in between Monroe and Marshville. And they used to do the cruising, in their little muscle cars and all that.
Well, I was driving through Marshville on the way to Holden Beach last summer, and I was telling my wife, this is where Randy Travis came from. This is his hometown. And as I said that, I looked up, and there's a garage on the right. It says Trawick Brothers Garage, and I'm like, I'll bet. Would that be them?
The family, yeah. And even, I remember growing up, there's a sign as you go in to town and leaving town. Well, as you go into town from either direction on Highway 74, there, Roosevelt Boulevard.
74, yeah.
Yeah. And as you go into town, it says Marshville. It used to say the home of country living and Randy Travis. But now I think they redid the sign since I've been here in Nashville, probably a few years ago. It's like this giant mural on a building, and that aspect of the sign got bigger. That text got bigger. So they kind of I think back in the day, since he was so wild, they didn't really want to focus on that too much. But now that I think it was probably as soon as he got inducted to the Hall of Fame, they're like, all right, let's
claim him.
This. Yeah.
He's ours.
Yeah, that's the way it works, I guess.
He's got a very interesting book out there too. That's a really good read. Talks about those wild days and things and what he went through. And if you ever visit here in Nashville, the Palace restaurant bar over across from Opryland, there's no doubt in your mind where Randy Travis broke it out of. He worked in that place. In fact, I think he was a waiter or something for a while, or busboy or something.
The Nashville Palace.
The Nashville
he was,
Palace,
one of my favorite places to play too. But he was a busboy and a cook.
Okay.
And washed dishes there. And, back then, in that position, you just did whatever they asked you to do, probably. But,
exactly. Probably.
But that's where he kind of, first worked. Then it kind of built up as far as a venue for him. And then eventually got huge on a stage there. But
huge.
I bet he don't wash too many dishes nowadays.
Oh, I bet he doesn't. Probably not.
Yeah, his wife, Mary, she's a great person. She runs a lot of stuff in his life. And
thank God for her.
Yeah, oh yeah. Yeah. That's definitely an angel
great
there.
Lady.
I've met her a couple of times.
Have you?
And she kind of takes a lot of the load too. I mean, all these people that want to meet him and do all this and that. And she's kind of like a barrier, a filter to him. So I'm sure he appreciates her.
I'm sure. I mean, you can tell love is there. Yeah. So like, how old were you when you first started? When did music first grab you? Do you remember?
Music, I have no idea.
No?
I think the earliest memory I have of hearing any sort of song was probably either Brooks and Dunn or John Anderson coming out of my grandfather's clock radio on his nightstand. And I grew up kind of living in my parents' house next door to my father's house, and just spent years living in their house. My mom left when I was very young age, and I've stayed in contact with her over the years and stuff, and I get along just fine with her. It's just spent a lot of time with my grandparents basically, and my brother and I's bedroom was right across the hallway from my grandparents' bedroom, and I'd always hear his music playing. When the alarm went off, it wasn't an alarm; it was the music started playing.
Yeah. So
I would hear Brooks and Dunn, John Anderson, I think was the first, maybe some Travis Tritt, probably just '90s country. Was what they played on that radio station, and remember that. And then we had a farm there, and we'd go take cows to the sale barn on Monday mornings, and I remember being riding in the old truck, and it was just country
all the time.
Yeah. I don't know why it's just such a ingrained memory, but I think it was just I always heard Brooks and Dunn and John Anderson. And I know that because whenever I hear those songs now, it's kind of like that nostalgia feeling,
Yeah. Takes you back.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. It's funny how a song can do that,
And I mean, I could smell. I remember what I was wearing.
Yeah.
I remember I was sitting in the middle of the truck, in the bench seat. Just weird how detailed that memory is.
Isn't that crazy how a song can do that? That's what I think I love about, music. How it could just transfer you right back there. Like you said, the sights, the smells, what you were wearing.
It's a time machine for sure.
It is a time machine. Absolutely a great way to describe it. So when did you first pick up an instrument?
My father bought me 2 guitars. He bought me a green little electric guitar, and then he bought me an acoustic guitar. Couldn't tell you where he got him. Have no idea. I don't even know if he could tell you where he got him. But I believe I was in 4th or 5th grade, and he came home, gave them both to me. He had one in each hand.
Wow.
And I've just always gravitated toward the acoustic, mainly because I think probably I was too lazy to plug everything in and do the volume and set everything.
Yeah.
I didn't know what all the knobs went, so the acoustic didn't have any knobs, it had tuning heads. So I just kind of gravitated toward that, I think. And then started into country music because that's where my kind of accent was and the lifestyle I lived. Saw all the pictures of people playing, in country, it was always acoustic. It was the lead singer, whoever was singing always, 90% of the time had an acoustic. So
yeah, 90%.
I was like, that's mine. That's what I need to be doing.
Yeah.
So that electric sat there for years, never even messed around with it. I would take it to school here and there because I had some people in my homeroom class or, third period class or something like that in middle school that would kind of go over some chords with me. But even they didn't know what you call them. They didn't know if it was a minor or a seventh or a suspended. They just said, do this with your fingers.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so I kind of learned the basics, And then over the years, I started realizing that I could listen to a song on the radio and I knew what, chord shape it went to after that. Couldn't tell you what key it was in.
That's quite a talent. That's quite an ear.
The progression of the song as far as chords go.
Yeah.
I could tell that and I'm like, oh, okay.
Not everybody can do that,
Oh yeah, they can try.
Talent.
It's just the same thing with singing, and some people are tone deaf, some people have no rhythm.
Yeah.
And some people can't transpose that.
Right.
I'm trying to learn music now. It kind of waited a long time to do that, but I, the brain's a crazy thing. You can always learn stuff.
Yeah, you can.
Hopefully, it'll sink in. There's a lot rattling around up there.
I want to hear more about your journey, but I also need to hear another song. Kind of one you can play for us?
Sure. I can do one that I haven't recorded yet.
Okay.
A lot of people have been liking it, and it's actually a quote, co-write, end quote, that I had the song almost done, and I just needed 2 little things, lines or lyrics here and there. And I went to my friend Bobby McClam, who used to run the writers' rounds at Slider House in Midtown years ago, 2015 or 2016, I think. And since he was hosting it, I was like, hey, he could probably help me. And he threw in a line. I loved the line, fell in love with the line. I was like, all right, cool. Do you mind if I put your name on it? He said, sure, go ahead. And my friend Jacob Paul Allen, who lives out in Virginia, he does a lot of gigging. He's an artist himself, singer, songwriter, and came to him with the last little line that I needed, and he filled it in. And of course, there again, it was just perfect. Why didn't I think of that?
Yeah, it always seems to go
perfect in my eyes. And there again, he didn't mind that I put his name on it. It's not like we sat down and came up with the song, but I'm tickled to death of what came of it. And I hope they are. And
you're getting a lot of good comments. So
yeah, and from everybody, from people who barely even know country music to people who've played it their entire lives, like Jerry Foster. He came up to me and said, "That's your song. I love that song. You need to record that somewhere."
That's high praise from
right. That's what I said.
That guy's had more hits than.
Yeah, and if somebody like that to even listen to me sing, let alone listen to the lyrics, pick it apart, tell me it was well written, that's a compliment. I think.
Oh, you got to feel good about that. Yeah. One of these days, we're going to have Jerry on this. He doesn't live too far from
No, he doesn't. We're all neighbors out here.
Yeah,
I keep finding people everywhere I go. You're like, oh, yeah, I live in Hermitage.
Yeah, Google that guy if you're not familiar with the name. He's written a lot of big songs.
Oh, man, yeah, you'll have to keep on scrolling. That's
yes,
a lot
you will. a lot of big
hits.
Jerry Lee Lewis. So what's the name of this song?
This song is called Some Places.
Great.
And, by my budget, it'll come out in the next 35 to 45 years.
I hear you. This is Ellis Griffin, and we're listening to the Songwriter Connection podcast. Thanks, Ellis.
Yeah, this song is called Some Places. I've been fortunate to call Nashville home for about 7 years now, and a little bit of growing up I did was in North Carolina. And growing up where I grew up, you either had a truck or you wish you did. And I've had a truck for a long time. Her name's Buttermilk.
Oh, yeah.
And yeah, a lot of people know her. And I just got tired of hearing all my friends talk about where their truck would go, what it'd go through, what it would pull, and what it'd do. So I just want to write a song where you wouldn't find a truck. Okay. So this is called Some Places.
Awesome.
12 years old, I was riding shotgun right there next to my grandfather's son, watching him go through the gears of that truck, a four-wheel drive, red and white fixer-up. I thought back then it would go anywhere until Dad gave me that hold your horses stare. Said, son, you ought to know the places this truck just won't go. Well, you sure won't find it at that 2-for-1 dive down on Main Street when your mom and I disagree, or an old Flames driveway hearing me say, baby, what happened to you and me? It might handle in the mud and the snow, some places it won't go. And I took the keys when Dad passed away. Got a son of my own sitting tall in his place. I slide on down that long bench seat and tell him the same thing Daddy told me. Son, you ought to know the places this truck just won't go. Well, you sure won't find it at that 2-for-1 dive down on Main Street when your mom and I disagree, or an old Flames driveway hearing me say, baby, what happened to you and me? It might handle in the mud and the snow, some places it won't go. It's just a matter of time before he takes me driving. It all goes to hell and he takes my advice. You sure won't find it at that 2-for-1 dive down on Main Street when your mom and I disagree, or an old Flames driveway hearing me say, baby, what happened to you and me? It might handle in the mud and the snow, at the lonely end of some dead-end road. Some places it won't go. Some places it just won't go.
That's a great song, Ellis, Griffin. Some places it won't go. Is that what you're calling it? Or
That's exactly right.
wow, you got to record that.
Oh, I need to. I'd love to.
That's a good one. Now, your friend who added the line, what line was it?
There was two of them. So I believe Jacob Paul Allen, he had inserted the line, until Dad gave me that hold your horses stare.
Oh,
I just
that's a
love that
great
little
line.
inner rhyme.
Yeah.
And the
Yeah.
alliteration that went with that.
That's a
I
great
mean,
line.
fit like a glove, like a puzzle piece. You know, that's what I consider them. Those two little missing puzzle pieces
That's awesome.
that they found.
That's great.
I was looking for them for months, maybe even years. I think it was, you know, under the rug, in the couch cushions, and they found them.
That's great. We're going to take a little break. We'll be right back more with and the journey of Ellis Griffin. Don't go away.
You're listening to the Songwriter Connection, connecting with music makers and hearing their songs and stories. Now back to the show with your host, Dave Linehan.
Hey, thanks for joining us. We do appreciate the listen and the download. And if you're listening on YouTube, please hit that subscribe button and like it, if you will. Appreciate it. Help us spread the word. Ellis Griffin is our guest. Came from North Carolina. How long ago did you move to Nashville?
It was 2 days before Christmas,
Wow.
2015.
2015. And what made you decide to come? You've been playing music and the draw of Nashville?
Yeah, I'd been playing for a while, and I had a 6-piece band back in North Carolina, and it was called 12 Mile Creek.
12 Mile Creek.
And we had some videos and songs we recorded and put on YouTube and stuff like that. Reverb
Can we still
Nation.
find them? Are they
Oh
up?
yeah, they're up there.
Yeah?
I think myself and my bass player Hal Rape, I think we were the administrators on that on
okay.
those accounts.
Yeah.
And I haven't touched them. I'm pretty sure he hasn't messed with them. And I'm pretty sure they're still up there because I get all these alerts on my emails and stuff and saying that you have 2 new views or likes or something like that on 12 Mile Creek. So somebody's out there listening to them.
That's good. That's very cool.
But yeah, it was a really cool sound. It was real raw, kind of grungy, and it was perfect, example of where each of us had come from. Yeah. Every instrument they played, you could really hear it in their playing, and they were great musicians and singers. The female vocalist was Elizabeth Phillips. She goes by Lizzie Phillips.
Lizzie Phillips.
You can't find a better sounding. She's like, I think she's about 5 foot tall, 4'8". So, I mean, very short, but the voice is just huge.
Wow.
Beautiful girl, beautiful voice. She had this deep kind of a voice for a female, and you've ought to hear her sing "Blue." You know, it's
the Leon Rimes thing?
Oh Lord,
Yeah. Wow.
it's crazy.
Wow. Are you still in contact with all these guys?
Not really. They're doing their own thing in
Doing their
North
own thing?
Carolina.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure they're doing well.
You ever thought about doing the band thing again, though?
Yeah, I see it all the time, and people ask me that all the time.
Mm-hmm.
I have nothing against it. It's just I've gotten so in the groove of doing my own thing, just me and my stool,
Gotcha.
you know, and kind of the mood and the tone of the songs that I sing, that it's kind of just fitting for me and my stool.
Let me ask you: was that a hard transition? The first time you did, it was just you and your guitar and a stool.
No, not really.
No?
That's how I came to that band anyway.
Yeah.
And they taught me a lot as far as playing by myself, you know.
Yeah.
And I always struggled with, I would hear a hole in a song, you know, that there'd be a gap, there'd be something missing in the song. You know, I was hearing the lead, you know, the lead parts and the little fills that other instruments do.
Yeah.
I was hearing those holes in those songs that I was writing and singing. And I kind of always noticed it and just kind of was an awkward feeling when it was supposed to be there and it wasn't. But then my friend, he told me, he kind of sat me down. He's like, listen, you're the singer. Your voice is the lead for it, you know, and don't be ashamed that you can't, you know, rip out a lead, you know, lick here and there. Like, so that kind of gave me the pat on the back, be like, oh, you're doing okay. Just do the best you can as far as what you can play, how you can play it.
Very cool.
So I was like, all right.
We have another friend in common. I read through your bio, Darren Dees, who comes up to Nashville a lot.
He's from my neck of the woods.
Yeah, he's a great singer.
Man, he's a great singer. The first time I actually ever set foot in Nashville was when I was moving him out here. He rented a U-Haul truck,
Yeah.
And needed somebody help moving it in, and we were hanging out a lot back in the day. He's actually one of the ones who got me into singing.
Is he really?
Yeah, it's kind of a funny story. But yeah, first time I ever set foot in Nashville was stepping out of the U-Haul truck with all his stuff.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and I can't remember what year that was. That was 2009 maybe.
Wow.
And I didn't know it, but I'd never rented a U-Haul truck, so I drove the U-Haul truck all the way back to North Carolina because that was my ride home.
Yeah.
And I drove all the way back, and I dropped it off at the place he had rented it from, and the guy was so mad because we had put twice the mileage on it that he had billed him for. He had already billed him for it.
Oh God!
So basically, it was double for the price. But yeah, I met him, Darren Dees. Met him years ago, around 2008, 2009, and he was singing karaoke everywhere. And he could play guitar, you know, and he was teaching me a thing or two. And we were kind of about the same quality of play and, you know, the knowledge of guitar. So we were in the same boat as far as that. But he was just a great singer. He had this high, and he could sing like a bird, man, like an angel. Yeah. Vibrato, just nuts. And he could do the growl, you know, because he's a big guy, you know, big chest. A lot of lungs. You
know what you do, which I think is just so cool today, and missing in a lot of country music today. You've got a way to put that little cry in your voice. You know,
I've heard that.
Yeah,
I've heard it called a yodel. I've heard it called a hank.
A hank. You know, those are all good explanations.
Yeah.
I guess I go with a cry because Hag used to do that. You know, put that little cry or moan in there. And where'd you learn that? Just listening and
just copying singers. Mainly probably George Strait, Keith Whitley, stuff like that. Garth Brooks would do it here and there.
Oh yeah, he sure did, didn't he? Yeah. And you know, Natalie Maines of the Dixie Chicks would too. You know,
I've heard it goes way back.
Yeah,
my list of idols. We don't have the time. I mean, I took a little bit from a lot of people.
That's great.
And not only in country, you know, I mean, from everywhere, but and I think that made me, you know.
But
that little inflection on the note, I don't know what it is actually. I think what it is you actually, just for a split second, you go an octave or two higher, just for a split second.
Yeah,
you change the air going through it and
bring it back down.
I don't know what it's called. I'm sure there's a name for it.
Yeah, it's the Ellis effect.
Right? Yeah.
Well, let's hear another song. Maybe we can get that out of you.
Okay. We can do Whiskey Whisper.
Okay, let's do that. That was a single not too long ago, huh?
Yeah. I don't know if it's doing well or not. I don't really check on those things. I'm too busy as it is. But I just love the premise of that song. You know, talking about, you know, it's kind of like a movie. You know, there's protagonists, there's antagonists.
Yep.
The good guy does not always win.
Not always.
Everybody has their vice, whether they know about it yet or want to admit it. You know, everybody has something in them that kind of keeps tugging at them.
Yeah.
And this one is not a true story. Not for me, not a personal story. But it's just kind of one of those things where, you know, the guy's sitting there and he's like, man, why can't I shake this? You know, and I just wanted to paint that picture for people. And
cool.
I think it's a cool song.
Let's hear it. Ellis Griffin is our guest on Songwriter Connection podcast.
Told her he missed her, but a whiskey whisper don't do no good. And hearing her name don't ease no pain like you thought it would. Since she's been gone, cold wind's been calling her name in the night. He says, I'd sure like to know why I can't let go of this double-barrel bourbon on ice. What could have been kisses are now just wishes. Will they ever come true? And it's got me thinking maybe it's my drinking. Lord, what did I do? Maybe it's not what I did, it's what I didn't do. This whiskey whispers your name when I'm missing you. pulls out a picture of the first time he kissed her in that baby blue 59. Says, that's my girl, she was my whole world. That's the day I made her mine. If I had it my way, we'd be together today, holding each other tight. But a fool's a fool, what's a guy gotta do to get another double bourbon on ice? What could have been kisses are now just wishes. Will they ever come true? And it's got me thinking maybe it's my drinking. Lord, what did I do? Maybe it's not what I did, it's what I didn't do. This whiskey whispers your name when I'm missing you. Could have been kisses, are now just wishes. Will they ever come true? And it's got me thinking maybe it's my drinking. Lord, what did I do? Maybe it's not what I did, it's what I didn't do. This whiskey whispers your name when I'm missing you. He told her he missed her, but a whiskey whisper don't do no good.
Whiskey whispers your name when I'm missing you. Great song. Ellis Griffin is with us, songwriter on that. Solo right?
Yes.
Yeah.
That was a couple years ago.
So you don't do a lot of the co-writing thing like they do here in Nashville.
I don't. I don't want to say I can't, but just doing what I do for a living, what pays the bills mostly is being a mechanic and kind of diagnostician type stuff. So I got to use the other side of my brain for that.
Uh-huh.
I think it's really hard for me to click one side or the other.
Yeah.
I can't schedule myself to be creative at 9 a.m. on a Tuesday morning.
I gotcha. Yeah.
It just kind of goes through it, and I write it down for it before it leaves me.
And we talked a little bit about that conflict before we went on the podcast. Left brain versus right brain, and you're a mechanic, and it is kind of hard, isn't it?
Oh yeah, for me, I'm not saying it is in general, but for me, I think I've found where it's just, if I know I'm going to try and write down a song, work on it, I want to schedule the entire day. I kind of warm up, get in that mood, get in that mindset.
I got you.
And not have to worry about, a customer's vehicle or what it's doing. Or I think to me, it's two different parts of my body.
So do you wait for an inspiration? How does it happen for you?
Yeah, I kind of do. So songwriting for me has always kind of been, I'll just play a melody over and over, or I'll just kind of sit down and mess with my guitar, usually in the dark by myself, and just keep going over the melody, and then I'll kind of hear a tune or something. And eventually, whatever I'm feeling or whatever I'm going through that day, month, year, will push something out onto pen and paper, So I don't think I've ever written a song where I just write it down on a piece of paper, and then put music to it. I don't know. That might be two different ways, but that might be something I can learn how to do. Yeah. I don't know, but I have been keeping a lot more notes and stuff. I'll be laying in bed and it'll wake me out of bed. And if I don't write it down, I'll never remember it again. I'll never have it.
That is such a good point. I couldn't tell you how many times that happened to me in the past, but not anymore. When it comes to you got to write it down.
Or record it on your phone or record it on something. Just play it until you remember it's something. Because in my case, when it's gone, you'll never get back in the same progression, timing, mood, the premise of whatever you're thinking about.
I can remember laying there and being, that's a great idea. That's how I need to approach this song. I should get up and write that down, and
or rewrite something.
Yeah, or rewrite, and then but I won't forget that. I'll remember that in the morning. And like 2 days later, I go, oh, wait a minute. I had this idea. What was it? You know,
Seems like I was going to change that. Yeah.
I was going to change what was it? I had the idea. So it's nuts. Songwriting. It's crazy.
And I've heard other songwriters use the term your antennas. You know, you got to always have your antennas out.
Always.
And when something floats by, you know, in the ether, you got to catch it, write it down.
Sometimes it's a conversation. The people next to you or something say a line, and you go, "Oh, man, that's could be a song."
It could be the simplest thing, or it could be the heaviest dutiest thing. You know,
sure can. Yeah.
And I find that I kind of lean toward the heavy stuff. You know, that to me, a good country song, the heavier the better.
Really,
you know, the more it tugs at your soul and your heart, and you know. That's you know, if you're crying when you just heard a song, that means it's probably a good song.
Probably a good song. Yeah. Do you remember a song recently that's done that to you? Or not even recently.
Yeah,
not even recently.
I love the songwriter Travis Meadows. He's really good about
Travis too.
Heavy duty songs.
He is
because he's lived the life. You know, he's walked the walk. He's got a story to tell. You know, and I've seen him a few times in the show. Great performer and guitar player, singer, writer, and he lives here in Nashville. And I've noticed that one of his
was in that movie Wheeler. If you've seen Wheeler,
I have not seen that
on Prime. He's
okay.
Yeah,
I'll have to check that out. I love watching movies, so that'll run across that for sure. But I heard him say one time, you know, anybody can write a song, you know, and make you cry or make you think or make you hurt or make you love or whatever, but nobody can tell my story like I can.
Wow.
You know, and here he is, you know, battled cancer when he was little. He's missing a leg. You know, like he was in and out of rehab. You know, he's got it. You know, he's got the background, the story,
got a lot of stuff to write about. Doesn't he?
Plenty of stuff, and he'll be writing for years to come.
Yeah, you can check him out. He's great, fantastic. Maybe we'll get lucky and get him on the show sometime.
Oh man, yeah. I'm sure he'd love that. He lives probably here in Hermitage, like everybody else.
Everybody seems to live here. Just east of the airport. So, yeah, you are great. What I used to call the DIY artist. I mean, you do it all. I mean, we see you out there everywhere. You're on all the socials. Your music is streaming on the Spotify's, Pandora's, everywhere. People can find Ellis Griffin. Do you have your own web page too? It is.
Yeah, there's a website, and if you come to a show, there's little cards that I hand out for free, and there's a little QR code on the back, and that takes you directly to the website. You know, the website, from there you can go to wherever you get your music, Amazon, Apple, Spotify, all that good stuff.
It's all out there.
It'll take you to that. It'll take you to the social media pages. It'll show you. It'll take you to the merch, you know, store.
Good.
It'll take you to the schedule, the calendar, you know,
awesome.
Places playing.
Yeah.
My manager, Amy Nell, she set all that stuff up. She does a lot of work for me.
Well, I wanted to talk about Amy. It's really good to have somebody as she's just amazing to help you promote, isn't it?
Oh yeah, and now I can't even. It's hard to think, or I don't want to think about a time when I tried to do it all myself.
Yeah.
As busy as you need to be as a singer songwriter, you know, artist in this town, as busy as you need to stay, it is almost impossible to do all that by yourself and run your own business or have a job where the schedule is crazy.
Yeah.
You know, being a mechanic like I've been for almost 18 years, if you work hard to make the money, if it's a paycheck, you know, it's flat rate usually. So by the end of the day, yeah, you can make a good living working flat rate, but you got to bust your butt to do it. And you're so tired by the end of the day. You know, I told my service manager when I quit at Toyota, I was like, there's broke down cars in North Carolina. I could have stayed in North Carolina and worked on cars. Yeah. I need to start doing what I came here to do, you know, and I need the time to do that. Yeah. And I need the energy, you know, more than I need the paycheck. So, and he understood, you know, he said, just remember us when you make it big. I told him I've been big, I just haven't made it yet. I'm 6'6", you know.
He's 6'6". He's a tall, gentle, kind of a quiet guy, aren't you?
Yeah. When I was in the military, my drill sergeant, last thing my drill sergeant told me was keep your mouth shut, carry a big stick. Ooh. You know, be good or be good at it type deal, you know. Yeah. So I think my entire life I've always just did more listening than I do talking. Mm-hmm. You learn more that way, I think.
I think so.
I'm curious. I'm just a curious guy.
And I think you find a lot of inspiration there too, and to help the songwriting. If you listen,
you tune in, and truly listen to, not just stare at somebody while they're talking. Truly like absorb what they're talking about.
Absolutely.
And a lot of people mistake my quietness for boredom or misery. But it's not the case. It allows me to soak up more of the planet, the earth, the world.
Yeah.
You learn a lot by watching people, watching somebody, just way nature works in general.
That's why you're such an interesting guy and why I wanted to have you on the podcast.
Well, thank you.
And a great talent and a great songwriter. So thanks for being with us. Mm-hmm. I want you to leave us with one song to play for us, play us out. Ellis Griffin has been our guest, and I hope you'll look up Ellis and get to know him a lot more. So,
I have no idea what I'd want to play. Let's do my inspirational song I just wrote.
Okay.
I wrote this for anybody kind of going through anything in their life that's straight uphill for them. If you ever feel like you're in the trenches taking grenades, this song's for us. It's called Keep On Climbing.
Yeah, it's long, this road that we're on. Too many miles to go before we wind up dead and gone. Life's just a hill with a taller top. It might knock you down, but you just can't stop. Keep on climbing. Don't stop trying. Tear down that room where you've been hiding. Let a little light in. And keep on climbing. When you feel lost, like everything's gone, tell a friend where you've been, let him lead you home. Kick down the door and let in the light. Even a cloudy day might be bright. Keep on climbing. Don't stop trying. Tear down that room where you've been hiding. Let a little light in. Keep on climbing. Sometimes this life hit me so hard, I thought I was dying. If you find yourself wondering why you didn't find me crying, I've been busy climbing. I got busy trying. I tore down that room where I was hiding. Let a little light in. Keep on climbing. Don't stop trying. Tear down that room where you've been hiding. Let a little light in. Keep on climbing. Keep on climbing. Keep on climbing. Keep on climbing.
Ellis Griffin, any given night here in Nashville, you're going to see him playing at one of the great clubs around town, like the Live Oak or the Cambria or the Commodore or the 12 Keys. There's a lot of other places that you play. Amy keeps you very busy, doesn't she?
She does.
Yeah, that's great. You're living the dream, my friend, aren't you?
She's doing her job.
Keep on climbing and keep on rhyming. And thanks for being, I know you're very busy. Thanks for taking the time for being on the Songwriter Connection.
Thank
podcast.
you for giving us a voice.
Awesome, man. It's my pleasure. We'll see you around real soon, I'm sure.
Thank you for listening to the Songwriter Connection podcast. Find us on social media at Songwriter Connection. Also, listen to Dave Lanahan's Nashville Connections radio show. It streams live every Friday morning on WOBL and WNOI. Look for us on Facebook and YouTube. See you next time on Songwriter Connection.